Ladies and gentlemen, the Looney Tunes. Tunes? The Looney Tunes. Oh, for God's sake. Start again. Ladies and gentlemen, the Looney Tunes. They need no introduction. Well, except maybe... Classic. Anyone who's anyone has seen their fair share of episodes over the years. I know you guys have. Don't give me that look. Now, I'm definitely not going to go out on the exceedingly fragile limb of stating they're the best decades-old cartoon series ever made because, Tom and fucking Jerry exists. But either way, I think it's fair to say that the Warner Brothers have produced something legendary over the past 80 years. I mean, look at these guys. All household names. Jammy Jackal, Daphne du Maurier, Herman, Foghorn Airhorn. They even churned out a few half-decent spin-off shows and a cult favourite, objectively mediocre, movie, which is a feat in and of itself. So hey, good job, Warners. You've achieved something there that many other franchises have never... Sorry, what was I saying? However, what is there to say about Looney Tunes' assorted ventures into video games? How good, for example, is this old thing? I asked myself that very question when I first bought a copy some 15 years ago from Duckinfield Consoles, apparently. Hey, support your local independent video game vendors, guys. The bloke who owned this place once got held at rifle point by armed police because they saw a life-size Lara Croft through his living room window and thought there was some sort of busty gunman on the property. That's a true story. I digress. So was this worth the cash? How does it stand up today? And who even cares? I think it's time for a new series of Undue Review. Bugs Bunny Lost in Time came out for the PS1 and PC in 1999, published by Infogrames, and developed by Behavior. At face value, this is exactly the kind of game that a lad my age would have been interested in at the time. The cover is awesome and features Bugs, Marvin, Sam, Witch Hazel, and whoever the fuck. And hey, when you do boot it up, first impressions are pretty good. By the time you've hit the title screen and opening cutscene, you're already in little doubt that, stylistically at least, this thing looks really Looney Tunesy. The rabbit hole, these Acme crates, this whole landscape, it's spot on. It's a shame then that my capture of this game has this weird chain link fence texture to it for some reason. It looks like we're watching the playback through your great Aunt Gladys's net curtains. Here's Crash captured with the same setup, so fuck if I know what's causing this. I'm looking at Behavior. We're just gonna have to go with it, right? So the visual style is on point. Great. Well, why not counteract that shining first impression by throwing in a really lackadaisical premise, said the writing team at Jar Interactive on day 2 of development. In this cutscene, Bugs pops out of his hole and thinks he's arrived at
Pismo Beach,
but promptly realises he's made a wrong turn.
Hey.
Then, he accidentally activates a time machine that someone just left lying around. And that's all the backstory we get. Bugs is then zapped through space-time to a place-time called Nowhere. And what a fucking depressing location to start a wacky Looney Tunes game. Like a great many of the levels yet to come, this place is based off a real Bugs Bunny cartoon and features creepy as fuck, lock me up for crimes against hand shuffling, definite wrong, and Merlin Monroe. However, believe it or not, this super sinister guy actually offers us help in a move critics are calling definitely a fucking trap. Specifically, he advises Bugs to travel across time zones collecting clock symbols and golden carrots because, number one, it will allow him to eventually travel back to present day, and number two, what about a collectathon?
Collecting symbols? Well, why not? After all, they laughed at the man when he discovered the penicillin.
What? Did they? Bugs Bunny is voiced by Billy West here. Except when he burns himself.
Whoa!
Because that's obviously Marge Simpson.
Whoa!
Time to learn a few abilities, I guess. Kick, sneak, roll, climb, helicopter ears, successful rabbit hole dive, unsuccessful rabbit hole dive. This is actually a really cool little gameplay mechanic. By diving into burrows, you can dig under fences and walls and get to places that would ordinarily be out of reach. I don't recall seeing this sort of thing in that many other... Whoa. As we progress through the game, we'll visit the Kubrickian fever dream that is Dimension X, as well as the pirate years, medieval England, and 1930s America. However, we start proceedings in the Stone Age, featuring caveman Elmer Fudd, as seen in 1958's pre-hysterical hair. Level 1, Dinosaurs. I love this game. Literally, the first thing you do outside of the tutorial is platform across a gap by jumping on this guy's head. Brontosaurus Bridge.
Jump on
Interesting that, bridging a gap with a dinosaur that never existed. Until it did again. They changed the mind. They brought it back. It's fine. Doesn't matter. Just forget I ever said anything. I mean, irrespective of what this thing actually is, Bugs is just lucky that natural selection really seemed to favour the Stretch Armstrong gene. Jesus. But honestly, this game's platforming and 3D puzzling is wonderfully diverse, even in the first level. It's all pretty straightforward here, of course, as any first level should be, but the devs didn't let that limit them. As well as Bronto Bridge, you've got seesaw rock formations, pushable boulders, precarious overhanging tree trunks, and you can only get onto one of the last few ledges by bouncing on Elmer's noggin. Ow. Interestingly, you'll scuffle with each era's boss multiple times across different levels, and no two encounters are the same. In fact, one particularly clever one consists of Marvin hurling these little capsules at you which transform into his minions. If you lob them back before they grow, however, they wind up spawning on his little saucer thing and dangling off the edge, and they're really nicely animated. I love this. But even then, the non-boss levels aren't without their own novelties. Actual platforming can even seem like a rarity sometimes compared to the masses of other stuff that's on offer. You've got a wonderfully constructed minecart ride, a surprisingly high-octane car chase, and even a skiing segment. There's an entire level in Dimension X called Train Your Brain that features assorted puzzle games, and in the Carrot Henge mystery, you can even curtail your adventure for a snowball fight with Daffy Duck. This constant variation in gameplay is one of the most commendable aspects of Lost in Time. You're never sure exactly what you're going to be doing next, but you do know that everyday platforming never lasts too long, and that sense of uncertainty is strangely enthralling. I mean, look at this for example. I'm walking along the docks, minding my own business, just killing crabs that throw their own claws at you somehow, when suddenly there's just one of these old switcheroo games to play, for some reason. Cool, I guess. Okay, don't hit the pirate. Don't hit the pirate. Don't hit the pirate. God, this brings back all sorts of memories.
Ahoy, mateys!
Oh God, I don't know. This one? Oh, Polly! The variety doesn't stop at gameplay styles either. Whether you're hopping around standard platforming areas or doing something a little more off the wall, the actual level locations themselves are fantastically diverse as well, which let's not forget is no mean feat for devs who are simultaneously trying to thematically tie them together within each era. One minute you're in a Spanish bullfighting arena, the next you're climbing snowy mountains. Today you're sneaking around a high security bank, tomorrow you're in a carrot juice factory navigating through stereotypical Acme assembly line hazards. This level is amazing. All we really need is a C-3PO battle droid and we'd be on a 10 out of 10, am I right guys? Of course, like Attack of the Clones, this game isn't perfect. For one thing, with gameplay as varied as this, there are inevitably going to be casualties. Lugging these crates around is usually a massive chore, aiming throwable objects always seems like pot luck more than anything else, and certain puzzles simply require you to repeat a very basic action multiple times over. Even the more elaborate set pieces can be hit and miss. This segment in Dimension X, where you take control of a robot for example, seems cool at first but is unbelievably frustrating once you get going. Getting constantly killed due to ropey controls and unbalanced difficulty doesn't stand up well when you spent the previous level kicking this guy's ass in a crazy hover scooter race with this boost animation and the ability to reach out and grab a pole to reach a higher track. It just pales in comparison. Back in the pirate years is a prime example of one of the game's other glaring issues. I don't know if you've ever watched Shark Week, but I don't recall any species that are renowned for their bulbous noses. Though I've already said I'm a big fan of the game's art style in a general sense, a great many of the game's objects are not pretty. What the fuck is that? There's an obvious disparity between the brilliant overall design and the sometimes mediocre delivery of a few specific aspects. Bugs himself basically just has a white splodge of texture on his face and it's hard to discern individual features, and Daffy actually has holes in his bill. Similarly, the animation of said models is sometimes flawed. Weirdly, some of the animations in this game have a different frame rate to the surrounding world. I presume it's been done to save space, a lower frame rate means fewer frames to store on the disc, but it's infrequent enough that you always spot it when it finally does rear its head again, and that can be really distracting. One thing I have no problem with at all though is Lost in Time's soundtrack. All of the background music in this video is pulled straight from the game, and it's all brilliant stuff, from your everyday pirate sea shanty, through this rousing Spanish number, to even just the enigmatic twinkling of the era selection screen, The game's score is colourful, cinematic, and perfectly composed to suit each location. In fact, a good chunk into your playthrough, you unlock a nighttime version of level 1. The obstacles have changed around a bit, and everything is palette swapped, of course, which I usually think is really lazy game design, but it actually looks kind of good here. But it's really the highly atmospheric music that completely sets it apart from your initial cheerful visit. If you're gonna do a reskinned level, this soundtrack shows how to do it justice. Top banana. They've even made a concerted effort to historically match the instrumentation where possible. It feels so right, for example, to explore the medieval setting of What's Cooking Doc, accompanied by plodding horns and trumpet fanfares, and One More Night by Maroon 5. This stage has everything any self-respecting medieval castle ought to have. Dungeons, ramparts, infernal lava room of perpetual suffering, the world's greatest running animation, and His Royal Majesty's garden. Gardeners only. So who's this guy then? I mean, I don't like to judge on face value, but I think the only time he ever picks up a fork is to eat another Big Mac. Am I right? Oh, you use your hands to eat a Big Mac, damn it! There's certainly enough depth to this game to keep you playing. 99 carrots can be exchanged for a gold one, breaking enough Acme crates grants you a clock symbol, there are offshoots and hidden areas aplenty, some of which can only be accessed by using these special abilities taught to you by Merlin.
Say hocus pocus over this symbol.
Hocus pocus!
And what I love about this game is it tries to give context to stuff that any other platformer would just present in a much more basic manner. The super jump ability, for example, is sometimes found on springy mattresses and old sofas. Many level entrances in the hub worlds are context relevant too, not just lazily placed rabbit holes. Oh no, you'll be hopping into bins and sewer grates in the 1930s street warp zone, or dematerializing into teleporters and launching space rockets in Dimension X. It's all so charming and so thoughtful. And that is my take-home message, really. While Bugs Bunny Lost in Time has its flaws for sure, it's the quirky features and the level designer's attention to detail that have been put into most of the game that really sell it. I mean, what the hell is this thing? Amazing is what it is. The physics doesn't technically add up, but this is a bipedal rabbit in a time machine, so join the fucking queue. License-reliant games like this need to absolutely nail one of two things, if not both. Number one, be an objectively good game, and number two, be true to your source material. And Lost in Time ticks both boxes twice over.
You're despicable.
From the familiar cast of characters, the pitch-perfect performances of their respective voice actors, and the levels that are literally pulled right out of real episodes.
Duck season! Rabbit fever!
Hey, rabbit fever.
This game's loony quotient leaves very little to be desired. And perhaps the final proof of this comes from these mysterious shadows you'll occasionally encounter on your time travels. All that's to do is kite an enemy right into the drop zone and watch the show. Looney Tunes 101. All in all, Bugs Bunny Lost in Time is a gem, a real golden carrot of the original PlayStation. There are honestly very few people in the world, young, old, gamer or not, who wouldn't get at least some level of enjoyment out of it, and for a 1999 title, that is commendable. Hello, me again. I'm in the bath. Or am I? Either way, now that I've almost certainly got your undivided attention, you could click the card on screen right now, which will take you to a playlist of loads more reviews, but it currently only contains what I call Undue Review Generation X, which is significantly lower production quality. Please do leave a comment down below, as I read every single one and print off a select few to stick under my pillow while I sleep. Cheerio! Now where's that soap?